I've been asked to give my viewpoints on the Alabama Riverboat Brawl. Like most black people, it filled my heart with both joy and pride seeing our people come together as they did. It also demonstrated the narcissistic feelings of entitlement that many whites in the U.S. possess. Because not only did those white people attack the black man, knowing fully well that there were black people watching from the ship, but when they finished beating him, they still didn't leave. What arrogance. Now, many black people have responded, flooding the social media with many humorous videos and memes about the brawl. Many have responded making jokes of it, making light of it, describing it as funny. They're calling the swimmer, for example, the Black Aquaman. They're calling those who came to the aid of the black man being beaten as the Black Avengers. I don't see my people's plight and condition in a humorous way, and I don't see my people as caricatures. So I'm gonna respond to speaking to the humanity of my people. When I watched the video, my heart hurt for those traumatized black people watching from the ship, not knowing if they were witnessing a black man being killed before their very eyes. Think how traumatic that must have felt for that brief moment. When they disembarked from that ship, that wasn't merely a theme of let's payback time. It was in fact very emotional. This is why even with all of the police presence, they still attack those white people. When people keep attacking within the presence of the police, that's a very emotional situation. Black people have a traumatized history that have never been resolved. Rather than having that traumatized history recognized, validated, and developing methods to heal from it, the white society has instead always engaged in gaslighting us by imposing their delusional white exonerating narratives upon our painful, horrific reality. They've always done this. When they invaded and enslaved Africans, they created the delusional narrative that Africans were uncivilized and illiterate, and that therefore their invasion and enslavement of Africans actually benefited us. Although it was in fact Africans that civilized Europe long before they invaded Africa. When enslaved Africans escaped, the white society created the false narrative that they did so because they were suffering from a mental illness they called drapetomania. It's real. When they castrated enslaved African men and when they butchered the genitals of enslaved African women for gynecological research, both without being provided either with anesthesia, they created the narrative that black people have a higher tolerance for pain. To manufacture societal consent for the mistreatment of us, they created the narrative that black people commit most violent crimes and that we've declared a war on police officers. However, in reality, most violent crimes are in fact committed by white people. And most cops in history have been killed by white men. They've also created the narrative that black women are the face of welfare, when in reality, most welfare recipients are white women. They've also created the narrative that it's because of affirmative action, black people are unfairly takes positions from white people, when in reality, the largest beneficiaries of affirmative actions has in fact been white women. Therefore, by extension, the white society benefits most from affirmative action. They've also subliminally propagated the narrative into our society that black people are the leeches of society that benefits from the great minds of Caucasians. In reality, the truth is in fact the exact opposite. The hidden fact is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustice of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by an earlier invention by black people. This is our hidden reality. Then after doing all of these things to us, they've created the gaslighting narrative that it's black people that are now our worst enemies. Those black people who believe that the narrative is true are the ones that become self-hating and mentally enslaved by the white society. Our hidden reality. The white society's core power against black people has always been their ability to create false narrative that serve themselves and that negatively impact the black community, and then impose those false narratives upon society, and then have the public function based upon those narratives as if they're true. That's the reality. So therefore, we have never healed. We haven't had the opportunity to heal when we're being gaslit. We're being gaslit all the time. So we have an unresolved pain that still exists within us. In order for black people to liberate ourselves, we have to understand the social science of how the white societies use power, put their power behind narratives to steer society in ways that serve the system of white supremacy. One love and peace.